Thanks for staying up later. Karen Allen is with us tonight. She was, as you know, Marion Ravenwood, the first heroine in the Raiders of the Lost Ark trilogy, but we're not going to start there. We're going to start with Starman, which was an enchanting movie of 5 or 6 years ago, a John Carpenter film that I understand you weren't 100% sold on. It took you a while to agree to do it. Is that true?
Well, I read the script and I set it down and I thought, what a beautiful story. I remember being initially just very impressed with the writing and with the actual storytelling in the script. But I was a little apprehensive about playing the character, just, I think, because of the circumstances that the character is in, that she meets a man or a being who has sort of come from outer space, has sort of reconstituted her husband's physical body and image, and I think it was just one of those difficult sort of what-ifs. You know, what if my husband passed away? I woke up in the middle of the night one night and a being from another planet and I just thought, I wasn't certain how you go about creating that believably.
You must have thought it had some potential, no matter how skillful the people involved were, some potential to be either absurd or schmaltzy or both. I
think I had a certain amount of fear of that. And I suppose, actually I don't know if Jeff ever did. I remember John Carpenter telling me Jeff walked in with the character when John first met him, and Jeff had sort of come up with, he'd been watching his children and watching birds, and he had sort of come up with this sort of like behavior that had to do with sort of everything being new, everything being a discovery. Everywhere his eye landed was this whole new discovery of something. And
now that you say it, mentioning watching birds, there was that little movement of the neck and that kind of thrust of the face that he affected there.
Yeah. Fill her up, unleaded?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know. I have to go to the bathroom, the ladies' room, the restroom. It's when a person has to. Oh, to hell with it. You figure it out for yourself. I'm going. Women, me. Men, you. Understand?
For someone who studied at the Strasberg studio and has done lots of stage work, Animal House is an interesting note on your resume.
Yeah.
Did you have reservations about it, or was it at a stage of your career where you said, hey, this could be good, I got to grab this?
I didn't have reservations about it. I read it. I thought it was funny. I liked the character. I liked Katie. I found her very relatable too. She really got to be the voice of reason in the film. And I just had a great time. It was a wonderful group of actors that they put together for the film. And no, I didn't.
Somebody told me that during the course of that, or shortly after it, I forget which, you had a conversation with Belushi about the nature of fame.
I did. Well, I guess, Animal House was really, he had done a little part in Going South. Is that
I forget
the right,
if that he was in it,
but Animal House was his first film, although he was quite well known already from Saturday Night Live. And I, at the time, was a sort of mad harmonica player, and I had brought all my harmonicas and everything to the set of Animal House, or not to the set, but we would all play music afterwards. And so he would come from time to time and pound on my door in the village where I was living and sort of want me to come out to some blues clubs and hear some great harmonica players, guitarists, singers. And I do remember having a very touching conversation with him about, I think, you know, he found it an extremely difficult adjustment to make, to suddenly, you know, become extraordinarily famous. And I think in some way he was trying to you know, I had just come to New York. I'd been in New York about 4 or 5 months when I had been hired to do Animal House, and I think he was trying on some level to warn me or to share some of his experience with me of what it felt like to suddenly have so much attention on you and so much to be in the spotlight to such an extent. And I don't think it, you know, I remember feeling that he was extremely uncomfortable with it.
Do you do a tentative little dance yourself with the idea of stardom? A lot of the reviews of your work have been close to rhapsodic, and you've been in at least 2 tremendously successful films, The Raiders of the Lost Ark and Starman, and there have been others. But I think it's fair to say that you're not a megastar.
Yeah.
Is that circumstance or a distance that you purposely keep?
Gosh, I don't know. I think I just like going about having a career in my own way, and I don't feel that I've really sort of pursued fame necessarily, pursued big pictures. A lot of times when I've done a film, as opposed to really feeling like, okay, now I've got to go and build this incredible film career, a lot of times the next thing that'll come along is a play, and I'll end up off, you know, up at the Long Wharf or something doing a play. And I suppose there are people who you know, in the industry who don't quite understand my approach. I don't know whether I'm shy of sort of fame or you know, building any sort of specific career. I just know that my interests sort of seem to create my own path in acting, and that I like doing both. I like doing something which is as high profile as a film, and then I like going off and doing something a little bit more private and more personal, which I find is the way I feel about the theater, that it's a much more intimate experience with the audience.
Is Raiders of the Lost Ark a plus all the way across the board, or was it in some sense kind of an unwelcome signature for you?
I think it's been, what happens I think a lot of times when one film is enormously successful, you get so identified with that film until you're in another film that is equally successful or more successful. Well, it's pretty difficult to make a film that's going to be more successful than Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I think in that sense, I made the film 10 years ago, and in that sense, that film has sort of followed me through the years and through an enormous amount of other work that I've done. Somehow people always hearken back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is great in a certain way. But at the same time, I think that happens to all actors.
Yeah.
That there is one film or 2 films that somebody gets identified with. I think in the way that it's difficult in certain ways, because a lot of times I might be interested in playing a character in films that's enormously different than Marion Ravenwood or even Jenny Hayden in Starman. And that very often what happens is you kind of get put in a niche, or people identify you with a certain type of film or a certain type of character, and that you have to work very hard to break that mold, to break out of that, to make people see you differently.